Hey, Rhythm Guitar Rockers, this is Mark Turco from rhythmguitarlessons.net. And today I want to show you part of a live stream that I did with my friend Deanna De Cabarrus from songwritinglessonsonline.com. I was a guest on a YouTube Live, and there was a question that came in about how to play chord changes rapidly, how to practice them, how to get better at them, how to get more efficient at it. It's a great question, and this is what we had to say.
Actually, got a really good question here from Joe. What is the most effective way to find and maintain the musical pulse when playing rhythm guitar on a song that has lots of rapid chord changes? So I once played in a 15-piece swing orchestra, and we played mainly 40s music that had a lot of very fast chord changes. And I just remember spending a week, one Easter, holed up, getting them all down. And what I the first piece of advice I would give you there before Mark gives us his wisdom is to identify the most important chord changes. So there's going to be some chord changes that are more important than others and that are holding up the music. And so those are the ones that are most essential. So like they might be the pillars. If we don't have them, or the walls of the song, and if we don't have them in place, the kind of melody is going to like collapse a bit. So identify the most important ones first and make sure they're consistent, and then add the other ones in. And in terms of how you would do this, I definitely am a big believer in apps that allow you to slow things down and cycle them. Because when something has an awful lot of chord changes, if you start at the beginning and try and play it all the way through, and you do that every single time, you don't give your body and your mind the chance to really assimilate the smaller chunks. So this may sound sort of painfully obvious, but if you only do it in small enough sections that you can get your mind around everything that's about to happen, and then do that for the next little piece. But if you try and do it for the whole thing and you're reading, and you're just gonna, it's always going to have the risk of kind of snowballing, and then it might be hard to recover it, especially if it's something super complex like that. So I would say, what bits of the song, what bits of the groove and the chord are the most important, without which it would stop sounding like that song? That would be where I would start with. Mark, what do you think?
Slowing it down would be the first thing. Just slow it down, and smaller pieces. Don't try to learn the whole entire thing. Do it 1,000 times and hope that you're going to get better, because you're not. It'll take way too long to do that. You need to parse it out, smaller chunks. Slow it down. Learn one little section, and then whatever those chord changes might be able to execute those in the order they're supposed should be played well, and then learn the next group of chords that you're supposed to, just work on that in isolation. And then once you have that next little, handful of chords down, then you're going to start from the beginning, and then you're going to play what you first learned. So let's just say it was 4 chord changes in the beginning, and another 4 chord changes that you learned after that. So then you would play the first 8 chords over and over and over again, get super comfortable with them. And then you're going to add another 4 chords further into the song. And once you get those 4 chord changes down, then you start from the beginning and you reintegrate it back into the very beginning. And if you have any trouble at any point, you have to stop and you have to work on the integration of those 2 parts together. And you don't need to do the 2 entire parts together, because chances are, if you're just going from chord 4 to 5, because you learned chords 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8, if there's a problem, it's probably only going to exist between chords 4 and 5. So just isolate those and iron out the wrinkles, and then reintegrate it into the larger piece. That is the fastest way that I've seen that at least for me, as far as learning complex things go.
I'm really glad you pointed out that there's likely to be some chords that are harder to get to than others, and you need to take those out and fix those. The easiest way to fix those is if you do, like, let's say I'm going from a G to a B minor to a D, and the B minor is slower than the rest. Mm-hmm. You can measure exactly how far behind the others it is by setting a timer for a minute and doing as many switches as you can from G to B minor, then as many switches as you can in 1 minute from B minor to D, and then as many switches as you can in 1 minute from D to the next chord. So that if you do that, that's really going to make it apparent what the gap to close is. And then you can just focus on training B minor to the chords that it comes directly before and directly after to close that gap. Then then you'll know that they're equivalent in terms of your coordination and your ability to get to them. So if there's a sticking point and you're not quite sure whether it's a chord or whether it's what's going on, that's a good way to isolate it.
If you like that video, you're going to love this brand new e-guide that's totally free. The link is in this video's description, or you can go to rhythmguitarlessons.net/P, lowercase r, lowercase o.